Welcome to the Spartan News. I'm Army Master Sergeant Thomas Wheeler, your host for today's episode. In today's special episode, we talk with New York Army National Guard soldiers who were on the scene within hours of the attacks on the Twin Towers on September 11, 2001. Master Sergeant Edgar Ponce and Lieutenant Colonel Kabreet Singh were both in New York City on September 11, 2001, and were involved in the recovery and response efforts in and around Ground Zero. This is their experience in their words.
My name is Master Sergeant Edgar A. Ponce. I'm the Class 9 Expediter for Task Force Spartan. Back at the time, I was a Unit 5. I was a recovery specialist. I was with the HAC 101 CAV out of Staten Island, New York.
When and where did you find out about the attacks?
Well, at the time, I was working as a technician out at CSMSB out in Staten Island. It's right in the same lot as the Armory. We were having a class, actually, and when it happened, one of the techs came into the floor and said there was a huge accident that happened in the city, and we're thinking, hey, what kind of accident? Then a couple of guys came in and they said, hey, a plane hit one of the towers. So we're thinking maybe it was a small plane. I was like, wow. So as we're going through the class, another guy comes in and everybody's running to the break room because we're sitting in the office is a large glass office, and there are guys running outside, and it's like, this can't be a small plane. There's somebody came in and said a jet hit one of the towers. And we were like all surprised. It was 6 of us in the class. We got up, we ran outside in the parking lot. You could see, not the city slide, but you could see the smoke coming up. There was the guys on the roof of the building. And there's a big commotion going on. Guys in the break room trying to call in to watch the news of what's going on. And everyone was getting shocked. So because the Armory is right across the street, a lot of the guys were first responders, police officers. They were coming into the Armory, hearing of what was going on. And a lot of the service members were right there within the area, so already at the Armory when it happened. And everything just took off from there. It was just a big commotion once we found out. When we heard about the first plane hit. By the time we found out a second plane that hit, we were already getting personnel out into the city to assist.
When exactly did you arrive on site?
Oh, we got there later in the evening. By about 1800, we were there because we were the last group to leave the Armory. We split into 2 groups. Actually, it was one of the groups that ended up going into the ferry, the Staten Island ferry into the city, and that was what a sight because we were used to seeing the towers. When we took the ferry into the city, and all you saw was smoke.
So when you saw that, what was your initial reaction?
It was a lot of mixed emotions because earlier in that year, February, my family they were visiting here, and we actually were at the tower. And just my mom, it was her second visit to the city, and she had taken some pictures with some of the vendors there because there was a young lady she met that happened to be from the islands as well, and she took a picture with her, and all those memories, those things just came flooding, and people that we knew that worked there. It was hard to take. It was hard. It was just difficult to take, but we had a job to do.
And what was your role during the response?
So when we first got there, we got there with the first responders. We were assigned to responders that are going into the search. So there was a staging area where we were briefed on what they were looking for. If we saw something, we'll call one of the actual responders or paramedics, and they'll recover whatever was there. So we did that for the first initial days, and then afterwards we were pulled back and just provided perimeter security. And then for the following 3 weeks after that, we secured the whole area around Battery Park. All that area was secured. But the first few days we were there within the site itself.
Describe the scene.
The scene from when we first got there is disbelief, chaotic. It was difficult. For most of us, we hadn't experienced anything like that at all. And for all of those that had been to the building and visited the towers to see what just had taken place, it was difficult to take. But like I said, we had a job to do, a lot of mixed emotions, especially at night when we got together. Sometimes we kind of try to play that tough role, but at night when you sit there thinking what is going to happen, and members, or fellow soldiers that had family members there, that we really needed each other to make it through. So it was difficult times.
As you got into doing the response, describe what your average day was like.
Well, the first couple of days as we were assisting with the search teams there, then it got to be a little too risky because all the people were coming in, so we had to set up a security perimeter. And we started setting that up, and that got to be kind of trying as well because people looking for family members, you're trying to calm them, you really don't have a lot of information. Then we didn't have really good comms as well, and people trying to get information. So what happened, we had to push people further and further out. And it got very tenacious at times, trying to deal with person, knowing the emotions of what's going on. I'm trying to comfort them, but at the same time, let them realize, we can't let you go in here. People have there's a job needs to get done, and if we let more people in there, it's just going to create chaos. It's all difficult. Eventually, after we did that, following the 2 months there, we did securing the bridges and the tunnels, and that kind of pulled us away from that a little bit. But we needed that break from there.
So, as someone who got the chance to work with, the civilian first responders, how did it make you feel to see everybody working together?
We had, I'd say for us, because I had worked on various state active duty missions, but to see something like this on a larger scale, it's the communication, having people step up to really lead a team of various, because it wasn't just the National Guard, you had airmen as well, Marines that came in, showed up out of nowhere. And then to pull those teams together and work was really inspiring to see that. And then how to divide the groups to make it more efficient. From those, I took a lot of things that has helped me through my career. That's getting people to work together. But that was one of the big takeaways of getting such a diverse span of personnel from all different branches, areas, and actually get them to work together for the common cause.
And how did that make you feel?
Very proud to be there. It was difficult, internally feeling and knowing the area, but seeing that we could come together to make the best of the situation, to help what we could. And also get information to personnel out there, because there are people who wanted answers. There's not too much we can give them, but at least we can get them to the right people to get them their answers that they needed. So there was a bit of relief in that overall.
Describe what the overall mood was from all the responders. In the beginning, there was a lot of anger, sadness, of course. With the guys that I was with, the group that I was with, there was a lot of anger, of course. And sometimes it got a little tense, but you have to have that restraint because there was a job to be done then and there. But there were so many tense moments. It's just the mixed emotions. But talking to each other did help alleviate some of those things. How do you think this experience has affected you?
I think about it sometimes. One of the things that stood out during my mom, she kept a picture from when she visited, and during Hurricane Maria, she lives on the Virgin Islands. The house got damaged, a lot of stuff was damaged, but she lost that picture. To her, that was her connection to what had happened there, and she couldn't find it. Those are small things that give you a connection to get there. For me, is being there. Some of the villagers that I work with that were there. It sticks with me. I think about it sometimes. When I was first sergeant at 258, we went there. I hadn't gone to the site for quite a while, and we had an event there that the unit was sponsoring, and I went there, and I hadn't been down there to visit the memorial in a very long time, and it's quite an eerie feeling. But it felt good to see what was done with it, so that it can be remembered and the memories kept. My plan is when I get back to take the family there and visit.
So it's a tough question. What does 9/11 mean to you?
I would say to rebuild, to persevere after a tragedy, because we can go through some rough times, hit some very tough points, but we can make it through. Having the right support, the right people around you, you can rebuild and move forward and make something better out of it. But the main thing out of it is that never forget what inspired you to get you there to that point.
Lieutenant Colonel Gurpreet Singh. I'm the 42nd Headquarters Battalion Commander, and during 9/11, during that time frame, I was Specialist Singh, in the 69th Regiment in New York City.
When and where were you when you first found out about the attacks?
I was driving to school. I was in college, in John Jay College. I was on the 59th Street Bridge when all of a sudden all the cars stopped. And I was trying to figure out what the commotion was, and stepped out, and I noticed everyone facing to the left at that time, because you had to enter from Queens to Manhattan, and the towers were to the left of that. When I popped out, I noticed everyone facing left and decided to look the same direction. Next thing you know, I saw a whole bunch of smoke up in the high rises in the far distance. So I was on the 59th Street Bridge.
And when did you arrive on site after you realized what was going on?
I arrived at the scene the same day that it happened, just hours after the airlines crashed into the Twin Towers.
And what was your initial response? I mean, what was your initial feelings?
I guess at that time, the initial feelings, it wasn't really about feelings. It was more about something happened and we needed to rescue civilians and provide that initial response, that help. It had less to do with feelings and more about helping the situation at hand that was taking place.
And what was the initial reaction?
So at that time, we didn't know it was an attack. It was an airliner that went into the towers, and something had happened. The initial reaction was, how can we help? You know, what can we do, or what can I do to help? So that initial reaction was just first instance of a soldier responding straight to the Armory and reporting to the 69th Army and saying, hey, something happened. Are we getting activated? It was more of a feeling that at that moment was, how can we help?
And when you arrived on the scene, when you arrived at the Armory, describe this.
So arriving at the Armory, everyone was staring at the television. I was trying to remember exactly what happened, but I went straight to my locker room. At that time, you know, we had cages that blocked off the locker room, so all the gear was in the locker room. So I went downstairs, I believe it's the readiness NCO, and I asked for a uniform. And there was a maintenance suit, like one of those large overall suits. And someone had a pair of extra boots. I just put it on and was just told to stand fast and stand guard in front of the Armory. So I kind of provided security in the front gate for the initial response, was just provide security for the Armory if anything were to happen.
And when did you first go down to the scene?
I can't pinpoint exactly, but it had to be close to 7 or 8 hours later, and we went straight to the Battery Park, at which point that's where we set up our command post for the 69th.
And can you describe what the scene was like there?
Very chaotic is the best term I can describe, because we were trying to grasp what happened, how do we make sense of all this, and where do we start? Was really the scene at that time.
And once everything started to kind of come to light, we kind of got, okay, this is the plan, this is what we're going to be doing to respond. What was your role at that point? At that point,
once the command post was settled, it was to provide general purpose forces for search and recovery and provide that aspect of it. And then I was also the radio operator. So I was communicating with soldiers down at Ground Zero from Battery Park. Whenever I was not part of the search and recovery team, I was the RTO for the 69th, the command post. So that was kind of basically what I was doing, was between RTO, general purpose, search and recovery.
When you were part of the search and recovery, so you had to go down to the actual scene. That's a tough one. Explain what some of the things were that you were doing down there, and describe that scene. It was primarily helping
reinforcing the local first responders. We were just trying to hear, listen to anything, any cry for help at that time. We were just trying to look for people, see if there was any survivors, and that was mainly our focus, our goal. And that's the best way I can do it. It was just looking for survivors.
And what were some of the things you were feeling at the time, emotions?
I guess because it was my first time experiencing something like that, being a young soldier, it was more of a shock. It was just shocking that something like this could happen in New York City, let alone the United States. That was really what was going through my mind. That it was incredible in the sense of It was great leadership and great effort, great teamwork that helped us kind of push through that first wave of shock.
Describe the mood at that time.
Felt lonely, at least from my point of view.
So when you were as part of the recovery team, you were working with civilian first responders,
Right.
other service members. Seeing everybody coming together, what was that like?
It felt like a family, you know. You didn't know the person to the left of you or to the right of you, but you knew you were working towards the same goal, the same end state. One was to obviously search and recover, but the biggest thing was, you know, there was a lot of engineers down there, and you know, and a lot of them were not only just focused on the search and recovery, but when we're going to rebuild. You know, that was their other focus, which was pretty interesting. It was pretty motivating to hear the fact that, you know, we're not here to just search and recover, but how are we going to move to the next step of rebuilding.
Did it instill any level of pride to know how well or how everybody came together?
You didn't realize it then. I didn't, because again, being a young soldier who's just more of, you know, I'm here to help. But after a couple of weeks later, being at home and seeing everyone kind of progress to the event, it did create a sense of pride and patriotism, right? So it did create a huge sense of pride that I was part of that team, that I was down there helping search and recover and rescue folks that were affected by 9/11.
How do you think it affected you overall, the whole experience?
I don't know how to answer that. How did it affect me? It helped me be a better leader. You know, going from enlisted to an officer, that it's okay to show emotions. You are a leader, and you know you're supposed to separate your emotions from your soldiers to make sure you know you're strong, you're brave, all those things that go along with being a leader. But it's okay to show emotions because that also shows that you care. You're a human being. And when soldiers see that, that also affects them and how they see you as a leader, and they respect you more. And I guess
they also know it's nothing wrong with them showing their emotions.
Right,
too.
and that's another thing. And you're absolutely right. You know, showing your emotions makes them feel comfortable and say it's okay to show their emotions. That, like I said, we're all human beings, you know, and it creates a sense of pride and a team.
What does 9/11 mean to you?
I know we were just talking about this. I guess the word that I was trying to come up was more patriotic, but patriotic could be defined in numerous ways. Patriotic in the sense of, you know, I was a soldier. I had the ability to respond. I had the ability to be the first responder with the other responders. Being patriotic, being able to provide search and rescue efforts, the ability to do that, but also patriotic in the sense of being part of that team, other responders, and focusing on the end state of recovering from that disaster. It wasn't just rebuilding structures, but it was how do we rebuild as humans, as a population, as New Yorkers, right? How do we recover from something like this? But it is shocking. It's you know, it's been 19 years. You mentioned it, but you know, you don't realize that it hasn't left you until you're asked the questions. It wasn't until now that it brought back memories. Can't believe it. I really thought I forgot about all this. When you talk about, you know, the type of emotions I went through or the emotions I had during the event, it wasn't, you know, at that time you didn't feel any emotions because you didn't know what was going on, you know. It was, what did I need to do to help the situation, no matter what it was, whether it was a terrorist attack or not. It was more of, oh my God, something happened, they need our help. And it was just that, you know, sense of pride of, okay, I have the ability to help, and how can I help? So.
Thank you for joining us for this special episode of the Spartan News. Please take the time to remember and honor those we lost during the attacks on September 11th, 2001.
and please keep their families in your thoughts.